Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm a 33-year-old software engineer from Austin, Texas. I have been saving for our wedding for 3 years, skipping vacations, driving the same dusty old Ford, and living on takeout noodles just to make the day perfect. My fiancée, Madison Brooks, was a freelance event planner with champagne taste and a habit of making promises she couldn't keep. When I discovered that the $48,000 wedding fund they built together had mysteriously vanished from their joint account, I didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't even call her. I smiled, because that was the day I stopped being the nice guy. Madison thought she was untouchable, with her curated Instagram life, her 10,000 followers, and her constant insistence that Ethan trust the process. She didn't know that the moment I saw the zeroed-out account balance, something inside me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't confront. I started plotting. By the time Madison came home with a new designer handbag paid for with my money, I had already moved half the savings into a separate account she couldn't touch, hidden her engagement ring, and written the first line of what would become the most elaborate revenge plan Austin had ever seen. The first thing I noticed that Tuesday morning wasn't the missing money. It was the silence. Usually, Madison's Spotify playlist was thumping through the kitchen by now, some indie pop anthem about love and fate and glitter. But the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. I padded barefoot across the hardwood, yawning, grabbing the last K-cup from the counter. The Keurig gurgled as I pulled out my phone to check the joint wedding account, a little habit of mine that I didn't think of it as controlling. Madison knew I did it, even teased me for being the spreadsheet groom. The screen loaded. Ethan blinked. Refreshed. Blinked again. Balance, $4.13. For a moment, he thought it was a glitch. He closed the app, reopened it, and felt his stomach drop into some bottomless place. The wedding account, the one they'd both been feeding for 3 years, was basically empty. $48,000. Gone. Madison, he called out, voice cracking just slightly. No answer. Her purse was gone. Her car keys were gone. She'd already left for her morning client meeting, whatever that meant. Ethan sat down at the kitchen island, phone in one hand, mug in the other, feeling like the ground had shifted under him. Check transactions. He tapped through. Line after line of withdrawals stare back at him. Not just one big transaction, dozens. Luxury boutique names, high-end spa charges, a new furniture deposit, a trip charge to LA he didn't even know she took. It was like scrolling through someone else's life, a life Madison had been living while telling him she was budgeting tight and looking for deals on florists. Ethan's mind played back all the conversations over the past 6 months. Babe, don't be so uptight. It's just a couple $100 for the bridesmaids' brunch. Relax. We have plenty of time to save more. Stop stressing. Trust me, this is going to be the wedding of our dreams. Dreams. The word sat like acid in his throat. He closed the banking app, then opened his credit card account. Maxed. His emergency savings. Drained. Even the joint grocery account was running on fumes. For a few long minutes, he just sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. Then something strange happened. He smiled. Not a happy smile. A sharp, cold one. The kind that stretched too far and didn't reach the eyes. Because in that moment, Ethan realized he'd been played. Not just stolen from. Not just lied to, played. And something inside him shifted. He wasn't going to yell. He wasn't going to beg. He wasn't going to cry. He was going to make her regret it. That night, Madison breezed in around 8 p.m., smelling like champagne and hair products. She dropped a glossy shopping bag on the couch like it was nothing. Hey, babe, she said, air-kissing him. Sorry I'm late. Networking lunch turned into dinner. But good news. I found the perfect shoes for the reception. Ethan just looked at her. Really looked at her. She was stunning, yes. Madison had always been stunning. Long dark hair, model posture, that kind of face that made waiters bring extra drinks on the house. She had been his dream girl once. Now she just looked like someone else's expensive problem. Shoes, he repeated slowly. She said, pulling them out of the bag like she was revealing crown jewels. They're Louboutins, but don't freak out. I got a deal. A deal. $48,000. And she still thought she was being clever. He didn't say anything about the account. Not yet. He just nodded. Looks great. Madison grinned, pleased. She didn't notice that Ethan's knuckles were white where he gripped the couch cushion. That night, when she fell asleep in the silk robe he'd bought her last Christmas, Ethan slipped out of bed and went to his desk. He pulled up every bank statement, every credit card bill, every PayPal receipt, and started downloading. By the time the sun came up, Ethan had a folder titled Evidence and a mind full of ideas. Over the next week, he became a ghost in his own home. Madison noticed. "You're quiet lately," she said one night, tracing a manicured finger down his arm. "Work stress," he said without looking at her. She pouted but let it drop. When she was out meeting clients, Ethan was meeting with their wedding vendors, the photographer, the caterer, the venue coordinator. Canceling everything. Every last thing. "Sir, you'll lose your deposit," the venue manager warned. "That's fine," Ethan said. "Send confirmation in writing." By Thursday, every wedding plan was dead in the water, and Madison had no idea. The final straw came on Saturday morning. Ethan walked into the kitchen and found Madison FaceTiming one of her bridesmaids, holding up a $3,000 dress she had just had to have. "She doesn't even know how much I spent," Madison giggled into the phone. "He's such a nerd. He thinks we're broke right now." Ethan froze in the doorway, watching her laugh. That was it. She thought she was clever. She thought she was untouchable. Fine. Let her think that, because Ethan wasn't just going to confront her. He was going to destroy her. Ethan had always thought of himself as a good man. Patient, reasonable, slow to anger. But good men, he decided that week, were just easy targets. Every morning, he woke before Madison and sat in the dark with his laptop open, headphones in, scrolling through the paper trail she'd left behind. He printed bank statements and organized them into color-coded folders. Every screenshot went into a cloud drive labeled Project Cleanse. By midweek, Ethan wasn't just documenting theft. He was building a case. Madison started noticing the change. "You're not eating," she said one night, waving a fork at him across the dinner table. "And you barely sleep next to me anymore. Are you stressed about work?" "Yeah," Ethan said flatly. "Big project launch." She rolled her eyes. "You always say that. You work too hard." Instead, he smiled. "It'll be over soon." The next day, Ethan sat in his car outside the wedding venue. He had a folder full of contracts in the passenger seat. "I'm here to cancel," he told the manager, a woman in a neat bun and navy blazer. "Mr. Cole, are you sure? The date is only 5 mon. I'm sure. Refund what you can. The rest, keep it. I want written confirmation today." By noon, the venue was gone. By evening, the caterer, photographer, and DJ were canceled too. Ethan even called the string quartet Madison had insisted on. "We've already booked that date," the violinist protested. "Not anymore," Ethan said. "Send me an invoice for whatever we owe you." When he got home that night, Madison was on the couch watching reality TV, laughing at something stupid. "How was work?" she asked. "Productive," Ethan said, and it was the most honest thing he'd said in weeks. Ethan spent the next 48 hours cleaning house, financially. Joint savings, emptied. Emergency fund, transferred. Credit cards, frozen. New checking account, opened in his name only. When Madison tried to order $400 worth of decor from Etsy, her card was declined. "Babe," she called from the kitchen. "Is there something wrong with the card?" "Probably a bank glitch," Ethan said. "I'll call them tomorrow." She frowned but didn't push. She never pushed when she thought she was getting away with something. Saturday morning, Ethan suggested something unusual. "Let's go over the wedding budget together," he said casually, sipping coffee. Madison froze for half a second, just long enough for Ethan to notice. "Budget? Yeah. Let's see where we're at," he said, setting his phone on the table, camera secretly rolling. She smiled sweetly and started spinning lies. "We're right on track. I've been saving us money by negotiating with vendors. You be proud." Ethan nodded, fighting to keep his face neutral. "Great," he said. "Let's invite our parents over next weekend. We can go through the numbers together." Madison hesitated. Just a flicker. Sure. That afternoon, Ethan dropped an offhand comment while scrolling through his phone. "I bet your followers would love to see your wedding shopping haul. All those pretty little details." Madison's eyes lit up. "That's actually a great idea." Perfect. Within hours, she was posting stories of her designer shoes, her expensive dress fittings. Even the catered cake tasting she had told Ethan was complimentary. Ethan screenshotted every frame. For the next 5 days, Ethan acted like nothing was wrong. He kissed Madison goodbye in the mornings, texted her memes at lunch, and even watched Netflix with her at night. He was ice, calm, collected, unreadable. Inside, though, he was sharpening the blade. The night before the budget meeting, Ethan printed everything. Bank withdrawals highlighted in neon yellow. Screenshots of her Instagram stories. Copies of her text messages bragging to friends about spending his money. Then he created a PowerPoint. Slide after slide of evidence. Time-stamped, dated, undeniable. When he was done, he leaned back in his chair, staring at the glowing screen. Tomorrow, he thought, would be the day Madison Brooks learned what it meant to play games with the wrong man. And he couldn't wait. The Sunday of the budget meeting arrived in the kind of Texas heat that sticks to your lungs. Ethan woke before sunrise, not from nerves, but from precision, the kind that hums through engineers when every piece of a system is finally in place. He brewed coffee, wiped the fingerprints off the TV screen, and tested the HDMI connection twice. The PowerPoint file, Project Cleanse, final, sat on the desktop like a loaded chamber. Madison rolled out of bed at 9, radiant and unbothered, wearing a satin robe and a smile that had never once paid a bill. "So, our folks are really coming over to talk numbers?" she asked, tightening the sash. "Yeah," Ethan said, stirring his mug. "Just to align. Your dad likes clarity." She laughed softly. "My dad likes control." Then, with a little shrug, "But he adores you. We'll be fine. We will," Ethan thought. "Just not the way you think." He kept the morning gentle. Chopped fruit, toasted sourdough, brought her a latte with the foam just right. The tenderness wasn't for her. It was for the timeline. Calm subjects make cleaner recordings. At 10, he walked through the apartment and set the scene. Dining table, cleared, centered, and flanked by 2 tall back chairs for the parents. Opponents seated where the lighting would catch their reactions. The discreet camera, one of those tiny Wi-Fi cubes, nested on the bookshelf between a plant and a framed photo from last summer. His phone would record from second angle, screen dimmed, lens pointed through a crack in a stack of cookbooks. He tested both feeds on his laptop. Green lights all around. At 11, he sent a group text. "Ethan, reminder, noon at our place. Budget and timeline. Coffee on. Sandy Cole on our way, honey. Frank Brooks. Be there. Have the numbers." Madison drifted past him in a white sundress that could pass for casual bridal. "I might go live later with the centerpiece inspo," she said, eyes flicking to her phone. "People are obsessed with the floating candle look." Ethan swallowed a laugh. "Do it after the meeting," he said. "You'll have better numbers to brag about." She kissed his cheek, pleased. "You get me?" "I do," he said, and it was true. He got every last part of her now. The hunger, the performance, the black hole where accountability should live. At 11:58, a knock. His parents first. Sandy with a casserole because she believed food fixed tempers, and Tom with that steady working man jaw that said, "I will help, but I won't be played." 2 minutes later, the Brookses arrived, Frank in a navy polo and quiet disapproval, Patrice in pearls, and concern that looked a lot like denial. "Y'all look great," Madison chirped in host mode. "Let's sit." They took their seats. Ethan poured coffee, set out notepads and pens, and opened his laptop. The TV woke to the first slide, just the title, Neutral Blue. Cole, Brooks' wedding, budget alignment meeting. "Okay," Ethan said, voice steady as a metronome. "High-level goals, timeline certainty, resource transparency, and a unified plan to close any gaps. I'll start with the accounts." "Perfect," Frank said, folding his hands like he was at a board review. "Let's have it." Slide 2. Accounts overview. 2 bars. Projected savings versus actual balance. Madison didn't flinch. Ethan watched her, not the screen. She had the kind of face that learned to hold. Any tells would live in the small places. The throat, the breath, the fingers. Projected, Ethan said evenly, was $48,216. Actual, as of Tuesday morning, was $4.13. A quiet fell over the table like a blanket. Patrice's mouth opened, closed. Sandy took a too fast sip of coffee and coughed. Frank didn't look at Madison yet. He looked at Ethan, measuring. "Glitch?" Tom asked, hopeful. "I audited transactions," Ethan said. "Click." Slide 3. A polite grid of dates, vendors, amounts. No glitch. Madison tilted her head. Pure innocence. Babe, I told you. I moved some things into short-term sub-accounts to lock vendor pricing. The balances don't show in the main view. Ethan gave her the smallest smile. Great. Walk us through the allocations. Her eyes cut to her father and back. Sure, she said brightly. Catering, $9, $500 deposit. Venue, $12,000. Dress and fittings, $3, $800. DJ, $1, $200. Photographer, $2, $900. Bridesmaids brunch, decor holds, efficient retainer, tips, miscellaneous. Another maybe 10. She said it like math was a suggestion. Fascinating, Ethan said. Click. Slide 4. Vendor confirmations. Under it, a column of emails with crisp subject lines. Cancellation confirmation. Venue. Cancellation confirmation. Photographer. Cancellation confirmation. Caterer. Patrice's hand flew to her pearls. Sandy lowered her cup slowly. Frank finally turned to his daughter. You canceled vendors? He asked Ethan, eyes narrowing. I did, Ethan said. Yesterday. Because the money was gone the day before. Madison's smile thinned. Why would you do that without talking to me? Because you already spent the talking money, Ethan said pleasantly. Next slide. Slide 5. Discretionary spending. Last 90 days. Logos of luxury boutiques popped like confetti. Spa charges. Flights to LA and back in a 48-hour window. No vendor visits on the calendar those days. An ornate furniture deposit. A $3,000 content collaboration studio rental. Madison laughed. Not mirth, deflection. Wow, this is dramatic. You're making my normal job look like a crime. Let's isolate normal job, Ethan said, voice still easy. He clicked to a split screen. On the left, her itemized business expenses from last year. On the right, the last 90 days. The right-hand column looked like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Patrice shifted. Honey, that is a lot. Madison's jaw tightened. I said I would replace it. Brand deals are in the pipeline. Frank's tone cooled. With what collateral? With my word, Dad. Ethan didn't rush. He let the weight build. Then, pull up your Instagram, he asked mildly. Let's show them the brand deals. Madison blinked. Now's perfect, Ethan said. Or I can. He walked to the TV and mirrored from his phone. Her grid lit the screen. Poses, packages, unboxings. He opened her stories archive and tapped to the sequence she'd posted 2 days ago. The shopping haul, the designer shoes, the complimentary cake tasting with a tagged invoice clearly visible in the frame. Patrice's face drained. Sandy's eyebrows rose so high they could have floated away. Tom pinched the bridge of his nose. Frank didn't speak. He just stared at the screen until the air felt thin. Okay, enough. Madison snapped, color rising. Yes, I moved money. Yes, I made executive decisions. Welcome to event planning. Things cost money. You didn't move money, Ethan said, finally letting a sliver of steel into his tone. You siphoned it. And now you're lying in front of 4 people who raised us to know better. Raised you to be a doormat. She shot back, quick and mean. And now you want to peacock in front of my parents. Silence detonated. Even the refrigerator compressor seemed to hold its breath. Ethan didn't blink. Do you want to correct your statement about vendor deposits? What? He clicked. Slide 6. A simple table listing the exact amount she claimed. $12,000 venue. $9,500 catering, etc. Next, a verified paid. $0 for each. Beneath, a neat row of screenshots. Email threads with vendors apologizing that they had not yet received the deposit or understood if plans had changed. Frank's gaze finally landed on Madison like a verdict. You told us last Sunday the venue was secured. Madison looked cornered for the first time all morning. She pulled her chin back, recovered, and tried the oldest move in her book, tears. They gathered as if on cue, glazing her eyes. Her voice went small. I didn't want to worry anyone. I thought I could double the money with a set of partnerships this month. Patrice reached for her, maternal and reflexive. Madison. Ethan held up a hand gently. To the room, not to Madison. There's more. He clicked to the final preface slide. Private communications. The TV filled with screenshots of texts. Madison to her bridesmaid, to a stylist, to a consultant. He'll never notice, lol. He thinks we're on a pause to save. I can sell him anything. Worst case, I cry. He folds. Men are so easy when you make them feel guilty. Tom exhaled a wordless sound. Sandy's eyes shone, not with tears for Madison, but with a mother's pain for a son who'd been humiliated in his own home. Madison recovered again, fast and practiced. Are you seriously invading my privacy? This is disgusting. You're disgusting. You're making me look like. I'm not making you look like anything, Ethan said, and now the calm was final, almost gentle. I'm documenting what you chose. Frank tapped the table once, like a gavel. Enough. Are you prepared to repay the funds? Madison went flat. Not immediately. Then you are prepared to face consequences, Frank said. Ethan, son, finish. Ethan nodded once. He dimmed the slides and replaced them with a black screen. The camera hummed. The room felt like a courtroom after the closing arguments, oxygen heavy with waiting. Madison, he said, turning fully to her for the first time, we're going to sign 3 documents today. He pulled a thin stack from folder. A written admission of expenditures. A repayment plan with collateral defined. Your car, the equipment you bought, and the brand inventory stacked in our second bedroom. And a formal cancellation notice to our vendors sent from both of us. She laughed, harsh and brittle. You think you can bully me into... No, he said softly. I'm giving you a choice. Sign these in front of our parents, or we stop here and move directly to the last slide. He clicked the remote. The TV showed a neat title, Contingency. What's that? Patrice asked, voice breaking. Ethan met Madison's eyes. The prenup you skimmed. The landlord form with my sole name on the lease. The receipts of your withdrawals, notarized and time-stamped. And a letter from my attorney. Patrice gasped. Frank set his jaw. Sandy put a hand on Tom's forearm. Madison's face flickered. Rage, calculation, then a sliver of fear. Finally, she looked toward her father, as if to find shelter there. Frank didn't move. 5 minutes, Ethan said, sliding a pen across the table. Take them. He stood, gave the parents a quiet nod, and stepped into the kitchen for water he didn't need. He stared at the faucet while the timer on his watch ticked down. In the other room, paper rustled. Someone sniffled. A chair creaked. When he returned, the documents were still in a tidy stack, untouched. Madison's chin lifted. No. Then we proceed, Ethan said, voice serene as a winter lake. He picked up the remote. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. The room was already shaped around the truth. On the television, the word contingency hung like a verdict. He clicked once. The slide changed to a clean, numbered list. Prenuptial agreement, revised. Vendor terminations, finalized. Repayment schedule, collateralized. Residential status, immediate. Madison scoffed. Residential status? Were you a landlord now? I'm the sole tenant on the lease, Ethan said calmly. You moved in as my fiancée by accommodation. The lease gives me discretion on occupants. That's not a performance. That's a clause. Patrice's breath hitched. Ethan, surely. Patrice, he said gently. I'm going to do this without cruelty. But I'm going to do it. He set a slim white envelope on the table. Inside are 2 keys. One to the mailbox, one to the storage unit I rented this morning. Unit 207. I personally packed your non-essentials. Brand inventory, ring lights, the boxes labeled collabs, the unused decor. They're safe and insured. You'll also find a printed list of items we purchased jointly and the buyout values. You can reclaim them by subtracting those values from the repayment plan. Madison stared at the envelope like it hummed. You touched my things. I handled your liabilities, he said. Your things are incidental. She laughed, hard and high. You think this makes you a hero? I think it makes me finished, he said. He clicked again. Slide. Vendor terminations, finalized. Beneath it, the grid turned green as confirmation emails blinked in. Refund processed. Credit issued. Contract released. On the right, a column labeled reassigned credit holder. Ethan Cole. Frank, who measured life in balances and posture, exhaled through his nose. You've effectively removed our ability to throw money at this and salvage September. That's the point, Ethan said. September was a mirage we were all hydrating on while dying of thirst. Madison stood. The chair legs grated. "Here's my counter," she said, palms flat on the table. "You in the circus, apologize for spying, and we book everything back. My brand covers half by August. I'll scale back. We move forward." "No," Ethan said. "We don't move on lies dressed as compromises." Her voice dropped, a blade wrapped in velvet. "You love this. You love this power trip. You love hurting me because I embarrassed you." "I don't love any of this," he said, "but I will not fund the life you pretend to live while you empty the life we're actually living." He clicked to prenuptial agreement, revised. The bullet points were unglamorous. Monthly transparency reviews with a third-party bookkeeper. Separate business and personal accounts with hard limits on transfers. Debt responsibility assigned strictly to incurring party. Social defamation clause. No public disparagement. Penalties attached. "You can either sign this before we pick a new date," he said, "or we won't pick a date. If you refuse, you'll leave the apartment tonight with your essentials and your storage access. We'll handle the rest through counsel." Silence. Not the fragile kind. The heavy, ironish hush of reality settling. Madison's eyes shone. Rage, not tears. "You think my father will let you do this to me?" Frank answered before Ethan could. "Your father isn't going to enable you, Madison," he said, voice firm in a way that sounded new to him. "We paid for your emergencies too many times. I'm done calling them that." Patrice reached, lingering between comfort and consequence. "Sweetheart, sit down. We can." Madison turned on her. "No, not you. You'll cry and make this about you needing me to be okay, so you feel like a good mom." Patrice recoiled like she'd been slapped. Tom cleared his throat. "Ethan," he said, "you've made your case. What happens now is yours to say." "Now," Ethan said. I press play. He clicked. The TV cut from slides to video. Madison, filmed from the tiny cube camera, scrolling through purchases on her phone while telling Jenna on speaker, "He's not going to check. I've trained him. He'll apologize for making me cry." Another clip, her laughing about the complimentary tasting as she panned past the invoice tag. Another, a text read aloud by Ethan, timestamps visible. "Men are easy when you sell them guilt." Madison lunged for the remote. Ethan stepped back. He wasn't fast. He'd simply anticipated her. "Stop," Frank snapped. "Sit." She didn't. She looked at Ethan, then at the parents, calculating where to strike. "Fine," she said. "You want contrition? Congrats. I'm contrite. I'm so sorry for caring about the one day I wanted to be perfect. I should have respected the tone of your money. Are you happy? Is that the neat little clip you wanted for your narrative?" "You're still performing," Ethan said. "You're apologizing to a camera that isn't there." "I'm apologizing to the only thing you worship," she fired back, "which is control. You'll forgive my spending if you get to hold the leash." He let the accusation pass. "No leashes. Just lines. Sign the lines. We draw a better picture. Refuse. We stop drawing." She tilted her head, eyes bright, dangerous. "And if I go public? If I tell people you trapped me, abused me financially, isolated me?" Patrice gasped. Sandy stiffened. Tom's jaw flexed. Ethan didn't flinch. "That would trigger the defamation clause and the evidence release. You're not the only one who can tell a story, Madison. I'm just the only one who brought receipts." Another silence. Frank sat back, studying his daughter as if he were meeting her for the first time and not loving the introduction. "I'll sign," Madison said suddenly. The room inhaled. She smiled, too quick. "On one condition." Ethan waited. "You delete the recordings and the screenshots in front of me. All of it. No backups. No folders. No cloud. You wipe it clean, and we start over. If you want transparency, then stop hoarding bullets." Ethan considered. He hadn't planned a bargain, but this wasn't a negotiation. It was a test. "Will you even try accountability if the lens isn't pointed at you?" He already knew the answer. He gave her a softer version anyway. "No," he said. "I won't delete evidence of the past in order to gamble on a future you haven't earned. It stays sealed unless it's needed. Sign, and it never sees daylight. Refuse, and it becomes a record." She stared at him like she'd never seen him before. In a way, she hadn't. This wasn't the easy man who folded when she cried. This was the man who built bridges at work and sometimes decided which ones to burn. "Last chance," Ethan said. He slid the pen toward her again. "Sign, and we rebuild with supervision. Don't sign and we end this kindly, cleanly today. Madison's fingers hovered over the pen. Then she pulled her hand back. No, she said, voice steady, almost serene. I won't be managed. Ethan nodded once, like an engineer approving a test failure that protected the system. Then we're done. He closed the folder, clicked to a blank screen, and powered down the TV. The tiny cube camera light went dark. It felt like a curtain lowering at the end of a brutal, necessary play. Patrice began to cry, the soft, inelegant kind that tastes like salt and lost illusions. Frank didn't comfort her. He looked at Ethan. What do you need from us? Nothing, Ethan said. No money, no pressure, no back-channeling, just space. Tom stood, hand on his son's shoulder. Sandy came around the table and hugged Ethan in that fierce, no-performance way only mothers manage. I'm proud of you, she murmured. Not for this, she gestured at the wreckage, but for drawing a line that won't blow around in the wind. Ethan nodded, throat tight. He turned to Madison. You have access to the storage until Friday, he said. After that, I'll inventory and consign items to repay the joint debts in your name. I'll send you the ledger by email at 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you need help moving the big pieces, I'll schedule a service. You don't have to see me again. You're not serious, she said, incredulity creeping in where fury had been. You're going to throw me out like garbage. No, he said. I'm asking you to leave like an adult. She laughed, a brief, broken sound. You'll be back, she said, almost softly. Men like you always come back. Men like me learn, he said. He picked up the white envelope and placed it on the far edge of the table, within her reach, but not a step closer. Mail. Storage. A list. Then he set his apartment key beside it, not as an offering, but as punctuation. You can lock up when you're done, he said. I'll be at my sister's tonight. He looked to the parents, gave each a polite nod, and walked to the door. On the way out, he paused, turned back, and, because closure sometimes needs a line you can hear, said, I wanted to marry you. I don't want to manage you. Those are different verbs. I deserve the first one. The door clicked behind him. The hallway felt cool and enormous. He exhaled and realized how small his breath had been in there. Downstairs, June heat pressed like a hand. He stood on the curb, phone buzzing with texts he didn't read. Tom's car pulled up. Sandy rolled down her window. We'll follow you to your sister's, she said. You're not alone. Ethan nodded. He wasn't. He slid behind the wheel, gripped the steering wheel once, a quiet, private squeeze, and drove away without looking in the rearview mirror. Some endings don't want witnesses. Some beginnings don't either. Act 5 would start at dawn. Tonight, he would let himself feel the clean ache of choosing himself over a beautiful disaster. Tomorrow, there would be ledgers and consignment, and a one-way flight to someplace with salt air and nobody saying September like a deadline. But for now, there was road and the soft permission of an empty passenger seat. And for the first time in months, the silence felt like freedom. Ethan sat barefoot on the beach, phone face down, watching the sun bleed into the ocean. No wedding countdowns, no bank alerts, just tide and sky. He blocked her number, let the screen go black, and smiled. The waves kept breathing. For the first time. So, did he? If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.